So, Shakur Stevenson wins via unanimous decision with scorecards of 119 and 109 all across the board and becomes the WBO light welterweight champion of the world. Let's talk about it. Teofimo Lopez came out in this fight aggressive, trying to apply pressure, but immediately was met by Shakur Stevenson's jab, and that pretty much foreshadowed the rest of the fight. Every time that Teofimo Lopez tried to set up any offense, he would fall short, his feet would come square, and Shakur Stevenson would just peck that jab out there. And that's really all Shakur had to do to win this fight. The first 6 rounds all went to Shakur Stevenson. Round 7 I thought was a little bit more competitive, and I gave round 8 to Teofimo Lopez, and I thought, is the tide going to shift a little bit? Teofimo was more on the back foot. He wasn't trying to set up his offense. He was landing body shots and he was outworking Shakur Stevenson. So I gave him that round. But from round 9 throughout the rest of the fight, the pattern that emerged in the first few rounds continued, and Shakur Stevenson won a unanimous decision. This fight went pretty much as I expected it to go. I said in my pre-fight prediction that I think Shakur will win by unanimous decision. I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. I thought Teo would win maybe 3 rounds, maybe 4 rounds. But the one thing that I thought would happen when I made my prediction, which didn't happen, was Teofimo Lopez was not able to impose his size on Shakur Stevenson. And in the pre-fight sit down between both fighters, Teo mentioned that he's going to try to rough Shakur up. He's going to, basically go in the grey areas of Queensberry rules to try to ruffle him up, kind of like what Maidana did with Mayweather, but he wasn't able to do any of that. And the moment I saw in the first 2 or 3 rounds that he wasn't really going to do any of that, it was pretty much a wrap, because he's not an out-and-out pressure fighter like a, Pitbull Cruz. He's a guy who likes people coming at him. So whenever people were saying, Teofimo rises to the occasion, yeah, but he's never risen to the occasion against a style of fighter like Shakur Stevenson. He's always struggled with that style of fighter, like Sandor Martin, like Jermaine Ortiz, who on the undercard got stopped by Keyshawn Davis. So, yeah, this fight was pretty one-sided, pretty boring for anyone who, likes to see a fight where there's a lot of action, a lot of back and forth. But yeah, Teo just wasn't able to impose his size. He wasn't able to, even use his volume punching. I mean, he's never really been a volume puncher. But if he was able to intimidate Shakur to the point where he brought Shakur's punch output so low, he might have been able to outwork him and win a few of the rounds. Kind of like he did in the 8th round. But I think the 8th round was an anomaly. I think Shakur may have been taking that round off. And going forward, I think Teo still is a very good fighter. I just think this was a terrible style matchup for him. I think if he wants to stay at 140, a very good fight for him is Pitbull Cruz. Stylistically perfect for him. Come forward pressure fighter. And I think it's a winnable fight and he could pick up a belt. If he wanted to move up to 147, Ryan Garcia stylistically is a very good fight for him. Another guy who comes at you, throws punches. It's ideal for someone with Teofimo Lopez's counter-punching ability. For Shakur Stevenson, will he stay at 140? Will he move back down to 135? I think if he stays at 140, a fight with him and Pitbull would be impressive. I think Pitbull would have a better chance and do better than Teofimo Lopez did tonight. He's more of a natural pressure fighter. I think he can take Shakur out of his rhythm more. And I think just like Zepeda was able to win a few rounds, I think Pitbull Cruz would also be able to win a few rounds against him. There's also Dalton Smith out there. That's an interesting fight because Dalton Smith is a lot more physically stronger than Teofimo Lopez. He's an absolute unit at 140 pounds. He's also a very big puncher. I didn't really think Teofimo was a huge puncher at 140. I mean, he went the distance with Arnold Barboza. He went the distance with Sandor Martin. He went the distance with Jermaine Ortiz. He never really stopped anyone at 140 pounds, in contrast to Dalton Smith, who has scored some pretty viral producing knockouts against several opponents. Now, none of those opponents are as good as Shakur Stevenson, but given the size that Dalton Smith has, I don't think Shakur will be able to... Because even in this fight, Shakur was not out of his depth in terms of physical strength. If anything, it was even. Maybe even Shakur might have had a little bit of an edge. But against Dalton Smith, I think Dalton Smith would have a physical presence and a physicality to his game that could give Shakur Stevenson a few problems. Not saying that he would beat him. You also had Conor Benn jump into the ring after and get into it with Shakur Stevenson. I mean, Conor Benn hasn't really done anything in his career. He had 2 fights with Chris Eubank Jr. after failing drugs test. He did absolutely nothing at 147 pounds before that. And we just don't know really how good he is. He has a loss to Chris Eubank. He then went and avenged that victory. But this was an old corpse of Chris Eubank Jr. I can't go off that to tell you how good Conor Benn is. So there's a big question mark on Conor Benn for me. Having said that, I do think stylistically he has a better style than Teo has against Shakur Stevenson. He's more natural on the front foot. He's obviously bigger than Teofimo Lopez. He's very explosive. And also, I think he's got a better work rate than Teofimo Lopez as well. So, yeah, that would be interesting. But I'd still pick Shakur Stevenson to beat Conor Benn. I mean, maybe if there was no rehydration clause at 147, yeah, okay, maybe I could see something happening for Conor there. But really and truly, I think Shakur should stay at 140. He's not even really a 140 pounder. If he went up to 47, he should get a rehydration clause because he's just moving up to a 5th weight class, and it's not for a championship belt. If it's for a belt, it's different. Then I guess you can justify not having a rehydration clause in there. But if you're just going up there to fight Conor Benn, a guy without a belt, then yeah, he's probably best advised to get a rehydration clause. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Just went exactly as I think most people probably thought. I don't think it's the end of Teofimo Lopez. I don't think he's shot or anything like that. I just think it was styles make fights. And it was a absolutely horrifically terrible style matchup for Teofimo Lopez. Right? So we'll see where both guys go from here. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comments. Did you think that Teo was going to win this fight, or did it go as you expected it to go?